Is America's overstretched Navy literally losing power now, as a frontline destroyer breaks down near China's contested waters? Did a U.S. warship go dark for 4 days in the South China Sea, losing power while operating in a critical Indo-Pacific theater? Were U.S. sailors left without toilets, hot food or air conditioning, as the destroyer endured the South China Sea's blistering heat? Did a nearly 10,000-ton U.S. destroyer become crippled at Xi's doorstep, losing its ability to maneuver under its own power? As the Iran war stretches the U.S. Navy across global theaters, are new operational cracks now emerging near China? From the Iran war to the South China Sea, America's overstretched Navy is showing new cracks as a frontline destroyer suffers a major power failure. USS Benfold reportedly suffered a major power failure during Indo-Pacific operations on July 24, leaving the guided missile destroyer unable to operate normally for days. The Arleigh Burke-class destroyer was operating in the South China Sea, according to CNN, while attached to the USS George Washington Carrier Strike Group. U.S. 7th Fleet said an engineering casualty involving the ship's generators caused the failure, knocking out power across critical onboard systems. The nearly 10,000-ton warship also lost its ability to maneuver under its own power, forcing the Navy to arrange a tow to the Philippines. The power failure disrupted toilets, galley services and air conditioning aboard Benfold, stripping sailors of basic services during the 4-day ordeal. The ship's potable water supply was also affected during the 4-day power failure, placing additional strain on crew members aboard the disabled destroyer. Crew members endured the outage in the blistering heat of the South China Sea, according to CNN, while the ship remained without normal climate control. However, the U.S. Navy said no sailors were injured during the 4-day ordeal, praising the crew's resilience, professionalism, and steady response. USS Robert Smalls provided cooked meals to Benfold while the destroyer lacked power, ensuring sailors received food after its galley services failed. Other warships from the George Washington Strike Group also provided support, helping sustain the disabled destroyer while repairs and towing were arranged. After 4 days without power, USS Benfold was towed to Subic Bay in the Philippines, where specialist personnel began urgent repair work. Repairs were completed by August 8, according to the U.S. Navy's official statement, allowing Benfold to depart Subic Bay and return to service. The exact cause of the generator failure remains under investigation by the U.S. Navy, as officials assess what triggered the serious engineering casualty. The incident comes as America's Navy faces growing strain from global commitments, with major forces deployed across the Indo-Pacific and Middle East. Another American warship is facing trouble at sea, marking a fresh setback for U.S. troops and raising concerns over deployment conditions. The amphibious assault ship USS Boxer is reportedly running short of basic supplies, echoing earlier concerns aboard the Abraham Lincoln. Anonymous family members of the Boxer crew made the allegations in a report published by Midas News, raising fresh concerns over conditions. Female crew members aboard the warship have reportedly run out of feminine hygiene products during the extended deployment. Crew members have allegedly urged their next of kin to send additional hygiene supplies from home to cover the shortages. One family member claimed sailors were desperately asking for extra pads and tampons so essential supplies could be shared. However, the families reportedly said none of the packages they sent were ever delivered to the sailors on board. The American warship left San Diego in March and reportedly reached the Middle East by late June after its long deployment. The Wasp-class amphibious assault ship has reportedly received no port call since reaching the region, limiting opportunities for resupply. The extended deployment has allegedly complicated normal resupply operations, while also affecting crew rest and rotation schedules. The Boxer is an aging warship that is already scheduled for retirement from the U.S. Navy, adding to questions over its prolonged deployment. The claims echo earlier reports of supply shortages and hygiene problems aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln, raising wider questions about Navy readiness. Reports have emerged of difficult living conditions across several U.S. naval deployments, with complaints involving food supplies, water, hygiene products, plumbing, and prolonged periods away from port. Family members and service personnel have shared accounts of living conditions across ships and other military branches, describing a recurring pattern of shortages, fatigue, and poor access to basic facilities. The latest allegations were reported by Midas Touch on August 14th, based on messages from relatives and active duty personnel. The outlet's accounts have not all been independently verified. One service member deployed alongside the USS Abraham Lincoln reportedly told Midas Touch that the reported hardships were real and reflected more than isolated frustrations from a single ship. The same service member reportedly said the issues were not restricted to the USS Abraham Lincoln, suggesting that long deployments and resupply problems may be affecting other units as well. In one message cited by the report, a service member said personnel had not seen land since deploying because of the Iran conflict, illustrating the strain of long stretches without port calls or normal rotation. Another parent said conditions aboard the carrier became progressively worse during their son's deployment, with recurring problems affecting sanitation, water access, food, and basic daily routines. The parent alleged that the ship's water system failed early in the 11-month deployment, leaving sailors unable to shower or wash clothing until the system was restored. Even after the water system was restored, the parent said showers remained tightly rationed, adding to complaints of hygiene problems and declining morale among the crew. Families say supplies repeatedly ran low and conditions worsened when resupply operations and mail deliveries were disrupted, leaving sailors short of food, toiletries, and other essentials. The parent further alleged that toilets backed up and overflowed shortly before their son left the ship, but the Navy has not publicly verified the specific circumstances described in the account. According to the unverified family message, about half a foot of human waste covered the floor of a restroom used by roughly 200 sailors, a claim that illustrates the severity of the reported sanitation crisis. A relative of another sailor claimed crew members had virtually no food, water, or soap, while other reports describe reduced meal portions and shortages of toiletries such as toothpaste, deodorant, and soap. Notably, the USS George H.W. Bush is also deployed in the Middle East as the USS Abraham Lincoln faces reports of extended deployment strain. Sailors seeking clarity from commanding officers have reportedly been told to focus on just today, a response families say has deepened uncertainty about rotation schedules, resupply, and relief plans. Some experienced sailors have reportedly described the deployment as the worst of their careers, pointing to the combination of long shifts, limited rest, supply problems, and prolonged separation from families. Not every account involved naval service, as relatives have also raised concerns about U.S. personnel deployed at bases across the Middle East during the widening regional conflict. One parent reported that their son, who is stationed in Kuwait, was in extremely poor health, though no independently confirmed medical details have been made public. Service members and relatives speaking to Midas Touch urged others to come forward with their own experiences, arguing that wider testimony is needed to force military leaders to address the alleged problems. Taken together, the accounts point to a reported pattern of exhausted troops, dwindling supplies, sanitation issues, and growing morale concerns across extended U.S. deployments linked to the Iran war.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.